In this video, I'm going to discuss how to share your struggle with porn, how to find a person to share it with, the qualities that they should have, tips on how the conversation might go, and more. Sharing your struggle is one of the most challenging things you will do in the process of getting free from porn, but I highly recommend it. It is important to share what's going on because sharing your story requires lots of courage, and doing so will strengthen your resolve. It reduces the allure of doing something that is hidden or in secret, and it opens the door for future conversations about your struggle by reducing the initial fear and anxiety, which allows both parties to bring up the topic again in the future. Jay here on Shackle Road, where I discuss tips, tactics, and routines to help Christian men break free from watching porn for good and to live lives of freedom. Now let's get started. Number 1, identifying the kind of person you want to share with. There are some qualities to look for in the person that you might want to share your porn struggle with. You should look for someone that's gracious. This person has a kind and humble spirit. They may have a good understanding of their own shortcomings and what God has done for them. They express it by sharing that same understanding to others. Look for an old soul. This person has the understanding that life is hard at times, and they have had their own share of struggles. They should be non-judgmental. This is a person who understands that sometimes people fall or get tripped up by things. Additionally, they have a desire to see people freed from these. Look for a good listener. This is someone that is not always jumping in or offering suggestions or trying to fix things. They know how to listen and ask good questions. Finally, they are empathetic. They have the ability to understand where you are coming from, and maybe this has to do with their experience of similar struggles. Hopefully, after hearing this list, you might already have a few folks in mind. Number 2, how to go about finding this person. Once you have the idea of the kind of person you are looking for, the next step is finding them. This can prove challenging depending on how socially connected you are. But before we go into how to find someone to share your porn struggle with, let's talk about who they should not be. Your person should not be your spouse or your girlfriend. This may prove emotionally challenging, as they may struggle with understanding why it is that you prefer videos more than them. Secondly, and I cannot be more emphatic on this point, the person you're looking for should be of the same sex as you. Ignoring this is fraught with disaster. Do not do it. As a note, I am not saying that you should not come clean with your spouse, but that is a completely different thing than finding someone that you can talk to and get help from in your struggles. Okay, now that that's out of the way, let's talk about finding the person you can share with. Talk to a pastor, other church leaders, or good friends, or even close friends on social media to get recommendations. Simply state, I am looking for someone to share some struggles I am having in my life, and I'm wondering if there is someone you'd recommend for me. I'm not necessarily looking for a long-term thing, but if it worked out that way, I'd be okay. Some important points here. Be clear that you're having a struggle and not just looking for someone to hang out with. It might be that the person you're talking to is on your list as a potential. So if they offer to help and ask what's going on, offer that you could set up 30 minutes with them over coffee or something similar. If they're not on the list and ask what's going on, just simply say, I don't feel comfortable with talking about it right now. I'm more looking for recommendations at this point. Lastly, notice that I put a time frame there. Asking someone to connect with another person indefinitely creates stress on the person volunteering to help. Setting a time frame is a benefit to them and to you, as it gives you both an out if there's not a mutual desire to continue. You can use the same strategy if you're not connected as well socially by monitoring things like Facebook groups or Reddits that deal with those who struggle with porn or masturbation, and look for people who tend to show the qualities discussed earlier. Interact with their content before direct messaging people. A simple, hey man, I really like this post, thanks, is a good approach. If they engage you back, then engage with the searching question. I'm looking for someone to share some struggles I'm having in my life and wondering if we could connect on Zoom or something for 30 minutes to discuss. If not, is there someone you would recommend? I'm not looking for anything long-term, but I would be okay with it working out that way. Notice the same rules of conversation apply. Lastly, if you're still having difficulties identifying a person, there are paid coaching services available where you can set up a one-on-one call to discuss your struggles and potentially get some advice. I offer such a service and also recommend another. Information regarding these is in the description below. Number 3, how to make the initial contact. Regardless of how you get connected with the person, here is a model of the initial contact conversation starter. Introduce yourself. Hi, Paul. I'm Jay. I've been looking for someone to share some stuff that's going on in my life. Tell them how you are connected. So-and-so recommended that I reach out to you. And I appreciated that you got back to me from whatever social media conversation you were having. Then make your proposal to meet. Would you be interested in getting together for a 30-minute chat at a coffee shop or over Zoom or however else it might work? Whatever makes sense for your situation. If they say no, don't even give it a second thought. Folks are busy and have things going on in their lives, and that's okay. Just thank them and move on to another person. Number 4, having the discussion. When it comes time to meet and have the discussion, show up early. Be happy to meet them and thank them for taking time to meet you. It is perfectly fine to have some casual conversations first. So tell them about yourself, where you're from, what you do, about your family life, etc. Allow them time to reply and make connections with what you said. The above conversation should not take more than 10 minutes tops, so do not linger there and squander your opportunity to speak with them. Segue or shift into your struggle. Start with something like this. So you're probably wondering why I asked you to meet with me. Or maybe they probe with a question similar to, so what's going on? Stay high level at first. So I've been struggling and unable to stop watching porn, or masturbation or lusting, whatever you need to add to the list. And I was wondering if you were familiar with any of that, or have had similar types of struggles yourself. Anyway, I'm looking to come clean on these things and looking for some advice and direction on how to go forward. Allow them space to reply. Here are 2 probable outcomes. If they start to share their story, then ask questions. So what did you do? Are there things that you would recommend for me? Agree with them when they share specifics in their story that matches yours, and start opening up on the details of your story as well. If you're up for it, share how you got here. On the other hand, if you realize that they are not the person you want to share with, and please don't use this as an excuse to not share, but only if you truly believe this person is not the person for you, then feel free to move back to casual conversation. With an, oh, okay, that's cool. I just hope that we'd be able to connect on that kind of stuff. If there's anyone you recommend or know, let me know. Then ask them questions about what they do, or their family, or are they going any place for this summer? Anyway, 30 minutes will fly by. It is important to keep to 30 minutes. Do not ask if it's okay to keep going. Be a respecter of their time. Say, well, I see that we're at 30 minutes and I want to respect the time. Then thank them. If it felt good to you and you think you'd like to meet with them again, then ask, would it be okay if I reached out to you again? They will likely be polite and say sure. Number 5, following up. At this point, you have accomplished your goal of sharing your struggle. Now that you have had your first meeting, connect with them again through whatever means you originally set up the time to meet, and thank them again for their time. But there are a couple things to point out as you move forward. What are the action plans from your conversation that you had? Are you joining a men's group, reading a book they recommended, etc.? Write it down as a to-do list and get to it right away. Do not delay. If you believe it will be helpful, and it likely is, consider asking them to meet more regularly. But when you do, include the following things. Define how often. Do you want to meet once a week, once every other week, once a month, etc.? Set a defined time horizon. Are they up for meeting for the next 6 weeks, the next 3 months? Be specific, as it may be that they are only able to commit for a short period of time, but not forever. Again, this gives you both an out if needed. Allow them to have a say in the planning. Offer them several dates and times that you're available that they can choose from. Also, discuss the agenda or purpose of getting together. It's also totally fine that you figure this out at your first meeting. Do you want to go through a book, or just check in, or maybe do a Bible study together? Whatever it is, make sure that both of you know what the plan is and be flexible. Lastly, be okay with them saying no. Do not judge them for it. They may have other priorities or just find it difficult to add another thing to their lives. Just let it go and find someone else. Number 6, what if it doesn't work out? So you've had your meeting and maybe it doesn't work out. Maybe they're not interested in meeting with you or do not want to meet again. Maybe they're blowing you off, or they just aren't familiar with your kind of struggle, or even how to help. There are hundreds of reasons, but it's okay. If it's during the meeting that you realize that it's just not working, just have the casual conversation and move on. Also, some people struggle with how to say no, so they choose not to respond or keep saying they'll get back to you. It's really okay to be okay with this. Try twice, and if it doesn't work out after that, then let it go and start looking for someone else. Let's put it all together. Find a person that's gracious, has experienced struggle, understands that people struggle, and is empathetic and a good listener. Use yourself, leaders, and social media contacts to help identify folks with good qualities to consider or even pay for a coach. Make your initial contact. Be sure to specify you're only looking for 30 minutes of their time. Meet the person, be grateful, share what's going on, and ask them their story and recommendations for you. Follow up with them, thank them again, and ask if they're interested in meeting again as well. Be sure to define the purpose of your meeting together again, and be okay with it if it doesn't work out. And if they don't get back to you, just let it go and move on to someone else. That wraps it up. Please like and subscribe if you found this video helpful. And if there's something you'd like me to discuss, leave a comment below. It's time to be free, guys. Go chase it.